Hello students, welcome back to the part 3 of the age of industrialization. In the previous unit, we discussed about Proto Industrialization, and now we'll move forward to the emergence of new factories. So after this video lesson, the expectations are that you would be able to analyze the pace of industrial change in England. You would also be able to list the factors that made people reluctant to adopt new technology. Now let's talk about the coming up of the factory. How factories emerged after the proto-industrialization phase. The earliest factories emerged in 1730s. So in the decade of 1730, the early factories were established in England. And the second point is the first symbol of the new era was cotton. Even in the proto-industrialization phase, we discussed about cotton, and cotton became the symbol of the new era. The next is that new stages emerged in the production process. We have studied about stapler, spinner, weavers, fullers, dyers, and thereafter the product was sent to the finishing center and then to the international market. So in these stages, some new stages emerged, and especially in the spinning part. For example, carding, twisting, rolling, etc. So carding was the process in which fibers such as cotton or wool were prepared prior to spinning, so that during spinning they would not break. So it was like processing prior to spinning to check the strength. Other than this, twisting and then rolling. So these stages came in. You would have seen the thread, and in the thread, when you observe a thread, you would find that several fine threads are twisted together to give strength to the thread. So in this way, thread or the yarn, YARN, also produced. Now, new inventions and innovations also started. The best example was cotton mill. Cotton mill changed the whole process. This particular invention was very important. It was devised by Richard Arkwright, very important 1-mark question. Other than this, it's a very important point to understand that the whole production process came under one roof. Previously, the workers worked in their domestic units. Now, they started working in the factories. And factories became an intimate part of English landscape. It became an integral part of England. Now let's talk about the benefits of the new factory system. What changes happened in the new factory system? After the emergence of the new factories, as we already discussed in the previous slide, the whole production process, which was scattered in the domestic units in the proto industrialization phase, came under one roof. All the workers now had to come in the factories to work. Other than this, in the new factories, now new costly machines got installed, which enhanced the productivity, which helped in increasing the productivity. Other than this, once the production process started in the factory system, it was possible to have careful supervision of the production process. Previously, it was not possible to monitor how the work was going on, what is the pace of the work, and careful supervision was not possible. But now, supervision was easily possible because everyone was working in the factories. Also, now it was possible to regulate the laborers, to regulate the workers. Now the timings could be allotted and the productivity could have been analyzed in the new factory system. And of course, as we said and discussed about the proper analysis, because of all these, because of the production coming under one roof, because of the new machines, because of the careful supervision, regulation of labor, now automatically the quality improved. The quality of product improved because of these things. The emergence of new factories also changed the society, social structure. How? Let's analyze. So, in the proto industrialization phase, the farmers, for their extra income, were working in their domestic units. In the comfort of their homes, they were working and they were producing products for the merchants. Now, these farmers had to work in the factories. So, the transformation was that these farmers now became workers. When they were working in the domestic units, they were independent. They were independent to work, and now they had to work in the factories and they became dependent. Most importantly, when they were working in the comfort of their homes, there was ease of time. So they can work as per their schedule, as per their timing. But now, in the factories, they had to work for long working hours. Let's observe this picture, think and discuss. This picture has been taken from the Illustrated London News 1925. So in 1925, this picture was presented in the Illustrated London News and it was painted by C.E. Turner. This painting is about a Lancashire cotton mill. So there is a cotton mill that has been shown, and Lancashire is the location. Lancashire is the place in England. And the artist glorified the cotton mill, and the artist is saying that this cotton mill looks extremely good with electricity, because of the electricity, and it was huge cotton mill which looked so good in twilight, and it was a most impressive sight of the twilight. Twilight means the early morning or the evening when the lights are dim. Now you have another picture to observe and to think. This picture has been taken from the Illustrated London News 1857. The picture has been given by M. Jackson, and in the picture, industrial Manchester is shown. Manchester, very important city of England. You know about Manchester United, and Manchester is famous for its cotton mills, and of course the early industrialization, the industrialization hotspot, you can say. So in this picture, the industrialization has been shown somehow in a negative way. In the previous picture, it has been glorified, and in this picture, the chimneys polluting the environment and the chimneys billowing smoke came to be characterized as the industrial landscape. So the industrial feature now got this identity to have chimneys billowing smoke. So it was another vision to see industrialization. Now you have this activity. The way in which historians focus on industrialization rather than on small workshop is a good example of how what we believe today about the past is influenced by what historians choose to notice and what they ignore. So vision of different historians were different, like you have seen the previous two pictures. So whatever historians presented, we made our viewpoints accordingly. Now note down one event or aspect of your own life which adults such as your parents or teachers may think is unimportant, but which you believe to be important. As we have seen the pictures, one historian, you have noticed, believed industrialization good, glorified. And in the second picture, the dark side of industrialization has been shown. Similarly, there could be several things that you think is important, is good, but your parents or your teachers may not think important. Think of it. Again, let's talk about this. Based on the previous pictures that we have observed and discussed, can you see any difference in the way the two images show industrialization? I have already told you that the two pictures shown industrialization in different ways. In one picture, there had been glorification of industrialization. In the other picture, the dark side of industrialization has been shown. So explain your view briefly. Now let's talk about the pace of industrial change. How the industrial change happened. So the first point here is the dynamic sectors. So the most dynamic industries in Britain were clearly cotton and metals. Already we have discussed that the symbol of the new era was cotton, and other than cotton, the industries were metal industries. And growing at a rapid pace, cotton was the leading sector in the phase of industrialization up to the 1840s. So we have seen the proto industrialization, we have seen the earliest factories established in 1730s, so till 1840s the leading sector undoubtedly was cotton. After that, the iron and steel industry led the way, and you understand the importance of iron and steel. If there is any factory, iron and steel is required even for the construction. And eventually, after 1840s, many new things came with the expansion of railways in England as well as in the colonies from the 1860s. The demand for iron and steel increased rapidly. And by 1873, Britain was exporting iron and steel worth about 77 million pounds, double the value of its cotton export. So you can see the transition here. From 1873 or by 1873, the iron and steel export increased and it doubled the value of its cotton export. Now let's discuss this very important point, which is production in domestic units. We have seen the emergence of factories, everything came under one roof. However, the new industries could not easily displace traditional industries. And when we are talking about the traditional industries is the proto industrialization setup in the domestic units. Although the factories came up, the production started under one roof, still the maximum production was going on in the domestic units. Even at the end of the 19th century, less than 20% of the total workforce was employed in technologically advanced industrial sectors. 80% production was still going on, or 80% workforce still working in the domestic units. Now, textiles was a dynamic sector, as we discussed about cotton industry, but a large portion of the output was produced not within factories but outside within domestic units. So very simply understand it, although the factories emerged, the production was going on in the domestic units. Another important point is that the industries were not steam powered. Although industries were set up, but they were not completely mechanized, not steam powered. So the traditional industries were not steam powered, cotton or metal industries like today, but yes, they did not remain entirely stagnant. They were adopting new innovations gradually. So seemingly ordinary and small innovations were the basis of growth in many not mechanized sectors. For example, food processing, building, pottery, glasswork, tanning, furniture making, and production of implements, means tools. Now, the next point is slow technological changes. It's a very important point because several questions are asked on the basis of it. So, the technological changes occurred slowly. They did not happen suddenly. They did not spread dramatically across the industrial landscape. It took time. Even the machines were available, but the new technology was expensive. Anything that comes new, it becomes expensive. And thereafter, the prices go down, especially if we talk about technology. Other than this, merchants and industrialists were cautious about using it because it was something new. Whenever something new comes, you want to check it. And the machines often broke down and repair was costly because the engineers were not able or not even available to fix those broken machines. Repair cost was obviously very high, so that is why everyone was cautious and the new technology was not implemented quickly. Also, the new machines were not as effective as their inventors and manufacturers claimed. So the claims made by inventors and manufacturers were not appropriate because these machines were not as effective as they were claimed. Now the next point is the reluctance to adopt new technology. We have already discussed in the previous slide, and it is quite interrelated to the previous point. So, new technology was there. However, the industrialists were reluctant to adopt new technology. They were unwilling to adopt new technology. Here is an example. James Watt improved the steam engine produced by Newcomen and thereafter patented the new engine in 1781. So patent means putting something in your name, register something. And thereafter, his industrialist friend Matthew Boulton gave a new model, improved version. But for years, he could find no buyers. So this is so surprising that such a remarkable invention had no buyers for many years. At the beginning of the 19th century, there were no more than 321 steam engines all over England. Of these, 80 were in cotton industries, 9 in wool industries, and the rest in mining, canal works, and iron works. So you can see the figure, only 321 steam engine all over England. Steam engines were not used in any of the other industries till much later in the 19th century. So till the later part of 19th century, steam engine was not popularly used. So even the most powerful new technology, very important statement here. So even the most powerful new technology that enhanced the productivity of labor manifold was slow to be accepted by industrialists. So you can see here that even the steam engine was not used for many years, and it was a revolutionary invention, but still it failed to get buyers. So finally we can say a very important statement here. Historians now have come to increasingly recognize that the typical worker in the mid-19th century was not a machine operator, but the traditional craftsperson and laborer. So you have seen here, factories were there, but the work was done by hand. work was done by manual labor. The steam power was not used, and thus we can say simply that they were not machine operators, but they were traditional craftsperson. Now we have picture perception. We have two pictures here. The first picture you can see about a spinning factory in 1830. So how the spinning process is going on, you can see here. You'll get more information in the next unit as well. So you can see how giant wheels moved by steam power could set in motion hundreds of spindles to manufacture thread. So steam power is used in this spinning factory. The second one, you can see a fitting shop at a railway works in England. The Illustrated London News, 1849. In the fitting shop, new locomotives, train engines, were completed and old ones repaired. So you can see here by 1849, as we have already discussed about the emergence of railway, and further the repair work is going on here. As we are done with the video lesson, I have the assignment questions for you. The first one is, why did new industries did not displace the traditional production in domestic units? The question is completely based on what we have studied today. The creation of cotton mill by Richard Arkwright changed the production process. You need to justify the statement. You need to tell after the cotton mill how the process of production changed, or in other words, think in this way: after the emergence of new factories, what change happened in the production process. Another one, examine the pace of industrial change in England. You need to write down the points and explain. Follow the writing guidelines. If you face any issues in the questions, ask questions. Thank you and have a great day.